BrePod now offers text affirmations. Check out the link in bio or www.brepod.com. If you're looking to support the BrePod, you can quote unquote buy me a coffee. Actually, I like tea, but you can buy me a coffee, and that is also on www.brepod.com. Thank you all for your love and support. Welcome to the BrePod. I'm here with Stephanie Tupper, Endo Warrior. Hi.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you on here today. I remember I was like scrolling through Facebook like maybe a couple of days ago, maybe it's like been a week, and I saw that you are also an Endo Warrior, and I'm like, hello, you need to come here onto the BrePod. So thank you for joining me today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. But my name is Stephanie Tupper, and I have my BA in dance. I wear a lot of hats, but I am a dancer. I graduated from SUNY Potsdam in New York with my BA in dance. I also do marketing on social media, and I also work for my boyfriend and his window cleaning company. I run his social media, and I'm hands-on, and I help him. I do dance fitness. So yeah, I have a lot of interests and, just things that I have to be doing because I just like a lot of things.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's awesome. And I actually did see your dance class that you were hosting, and I was like, man, I wish I was closer because, I'm in Oregon, because I feel like I can learn it, but I can't just like do it. You know what I mean? So that would have been cool.
Exactly.
Oh, um,
There goes. There's that dang fire siren. I'm so sorry.
hey, no worries at all. I wanted to ask you. So, as everyone knows now, you are an Endo Warrior. Tell us like a little bit about, or tell us about your journey with that.
Okay, so all of that pretty much starts at the beginning. We get our periods, and this is when this happens. So I was in seventh grade, like the end of seventh grade when I got mine, and things were okay in the beginning, but in like eighth grade, towards the end of the year, I just noticed that something wasn't right. I would have like really, really painful cramps. Like I remember being in gym class one day, and the class was over. We had to do the pacer test where you're doing a lot of running. And I actually did like really well. But when I went to the locker room to change, like my body just would not cool down. I stayed like very hot. Like my skin was just really hot. I was very sweaty, and my cramps were so bad. I remember laying on the bench and just like passing out basically. And I was kind of in the back of the locker room. Not very many girls had their lockers back there. So no one realized that I didn't leave the locker room. I had lunch right after, and I like basically slept or passed out through lunch and like woke up and was like, okay, what the hell was that about? And I just knew that something wasn't right, but I was just so young, and I didn't know. I didn't know how to advocate for myself or how to ask someone. And it's just, you're still so young, and this is still a new thing that's going on. And you're like, oh, well, maybe this is just normal. I don't know. And it would happen every so many months. I would just be sitting in class and being really uncomfortable, but trying to just focus on my classes and trying to do the activities that I needed to do. So I pretty much went through high school with it being random like that. And it wasn't until I was in college, which what a time to have it get worse. But that's when it really got bad. The summer before my freshman year of college was the first time I had a cyst burst. And I didn't even know that. I didn't even know it until a few years later. But I just had awful, awful cramps one night. I remember we didn't have any Tylenol or ibuprofen or anything in the house. We
Oh,
were out of it. And so I took Benadryl. I was like, I'll just go to sleep. Like this will just knock me out. And it didn't. So I took like maybe an hour or two later, I was still awake, still awful in pain. And I took more Benadryl and I was screaming. It got so bad. My parents were like, we have to take you to the emergency room. So we got in the car. I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I went to the emergency room. They gave me a shot of Toradol in my butt. um, but it went away. But what I noticed was the pain came in waves. And when you know, like your instincts as a woman kick in. And I just remember thinking, wow, this is probably what contractions feel like. I don't know. I don't have children. I've never been pregnant. I don't know. But that was just one of my first thoughts was like, this is like a contraction. It's like coming in waves. And then you kind of like breathe through it. You feel like, okay, I'm in the clear. It's gone. Boom, second wave. And then, it's almost like this feeling of someone with a fork inside your body, scraping at your insides and then pouring bleach. That's like, you know what I mean? Like just pouring something that will make it sting. That is what it feels like. And I would tell people that, and not very many people in my life knew what I was talking about. So I felt very crazy when I would try to explain, like, this is what it feels like. This is awful. Like, but then you're fine. Like it bursts of like a half an hour goes by, and then you're like fine. And then it wouldn't even happen every time I had my period. It was like random. So it's happened while I've been on vacation. My poor friend, we went tanning in a tanning salon, and the heat like brought it on. And I was like, you're going to think this is crazy, but I need you to take me to the hospital. Like I seem okay right now. I'm going to be not okay in a couple minutes. And I just was screaming in the back seat of her car. And she was like driving me to the hospital. And yeah, it was a lot of that throughout my college years. And I think I was so scared to learn, like, well, what if they tell me that I can't have kids? It's like, do I want to know what's wrong with me? Do I not want to know what's wrong with me? Like, so I kind of had this avoidance, like, I don't know what's wrong. So I'm just going to go about my life. And, I should be fine for the next couple of months. Maybe this is the last time this is going to happen to me. But yeah, so it happened a few times. And one particular time I remember had an evening class at 6 p.m. and it was for a choreography class. And it was day one of this class. So the semester had started. It was the spring semester. So it was my first day of my Tuesday classes. And I was sitting in a psychology class with a lot of people that I didn't know. I was in the front row and I just was like, uh-oh, like something's wrong. And I went to the bathroom, and then I ended up going to the lobby. Like I left my stuff, and these 2 girls, I don't even know who they are. To this day, I don't know what their names were, but I was like, I need help. Like, this is going to sound so crazy, but like, I need someone to call UP or like an ambulance. And my stuff is in whatever room number it was. And I was like, I was sitting in the front row. Could someone grab my stuff? Like, and then it just like hit me, and an ambulance had to come and pick me up, like in the middle of this college building. It was so embarrassing. And I'm like doubled over. UP showed up first, and then they're the ones that called the ambulance. And they're like, what's wrong? Like, what's happening? And I was just like, it's something to do with my period. So like having to explain this to like a UP, like university police officer. And he was like, oh shit, like, I'm okay. Like, I don't really know what to do. And the girls that were there, were like so sweet, so kind. Like, I'm so grateful for them. And they were just like, trust me, officer, like, this is not okay. Like, she needs to go to the hospital. Like, this is bad. And I was like rolling around, and they took me in an ambulance. I was on a stretcher, but I had class that night. And I had had this happen probably 4 or 5 times. And I just knew I'm going to be okay in a couple hours. Like, they're going to give me the shot of Toradol or whatever, whatever it is they're going to do. I need to call someone to come pick me up, and I need to be at my dance class, because a lot of those professors were like, if you are not here, like, you're not going to get a good grade. It was day one. So with my hospital bracelet and like little slippers, I showed up for my class that night at 6 p.m. Like, I had to do what I had to do. And like, looking back on that, that's so awful. Like, I just had a cyst burst in public. I had to be picked up by an ambulance. At this point, a lot of like doctors and nurses, like, they didn't really know what to think of it either. It was always like, oh, could you be pregnant? Oh, could you think of like a different option that could be wrong with me just because I'm a woman? Like, it gets really annoying. But yeah, like, so I don't know, what else you would want to know, but that's kind of like the gist of the journey, I guess. I pretty much got to a point where I had to know, I had to get a diagnosis. I couldn't keep taking ambulance rides, and not knowing like what was going on. I needed an answer. And the last time before I finally went and scheduled an appointment with an OBG, this nurse was kind of like heartless to me when I was in this situation. And she was just like, you really need to figure out what's wrong. Like, you can't keep coming here. Cause like, I had a file, like they could tell how often I had come in for the same thing. And like, they wouldn't order, what is it when an ultrasound, they like wouldn't order an ultrasound for me ever. And, she was just like, you need to like figure out what's going on. Like, this is ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous how often you come in like every so many months. And I was just like, lady, like, I'm scared. Like, I'm terrified that someone is going to take a deeper look and be like, well, you can't have kids. But yeah, so that kind of pushed me to it. And one of my mom's customers, my mom is a hairdresser, and one of her customers had heard my mom talking to her about this. And she was like, I think Stephanie has what I have, and I want to talk to her, and I want to recommend my doctor, my OBGYN, to her. So I had a conversation with this girl, and she asked me some questions about like my symptoms. And she was just like, I swear you have endometriosis. This is the number to the doctor. Get in as soon as you can. And she was like, I swear you have this. So I scheduled an appointment, and I met with the doctor, and I was like super nervous, but he was so nice. And yeah, he was like, I would bet money that you have endometriosis, but I have to do laparoscopic. I have to go in order to do it. And he goes, but I would bet my license, I would bet my ability to practice that you have endometriosis. So I did the laparoscopic, which is super intimidating. When they tell you all the things that they're going to do, it's like, oh, okay, interesting. But yeah, so I had that. They told me that I could have children, but that I was stage 3 endometriosis, and they went in and they did their thing. But unfortunately, 6 months later, I had another cyst burst. And then I think another like 3 or 4 months after that, I had my last and final cyst burst in 2015. And I haven't had one burst since, but we'll get into what I did after. But that's basically my story of how I came to having a diagnosis and, the beginning and all of that.
Well, I definitely appreciate you sharing your story and your journey because I think that, um, and I know not even just, I think I know this from a lot, just talking to a lot of women that also have it like us. They even say, like in the beginning, you are questioned and you're treated poorly. That's why I feel like a lot of people have the medical trauma with doctors because, you're constantly told that, oh, it's just a bad period, or, oh, this is normal, or, oh, you shouldn't feel this way. It's like, well, you need to come into my body and feel what I'm feeling before you tell me what I should feel. But even just listening to what you said that the nurse told you, that felt so triggering to me because I would be like, isn't that your job to find out what's wrong with me? I'm not a doctor, you know what I mean? But I think that I feel like you handled it so well. And just, it is a scary thing to think of not having children. I totally understand that feeling. So um, I feel like people, unless they have been through this, don't understand like that it's more than just physical, it's more than just pain. There is a mental thing behind it too. Uh, so not happy, but I'm thankful that you shared that as well, your feelings and emotions, because I don't think a lot of people realize that it's more than just this painful experience. So you were saying that you haven't had a cyst since what was it, 2015? Knock on wood. Um, what have you done to so what has your healing, or I don't want to say healing, more so like coping and healing journey? What has that been like?
Okay, so well, first of all, I think a lot of it is like mentally because you can get in your head a lot. So I developed a lot of anxiety around my period where it was like, is am I going to have this happen again this month? Is this what's going to happen? And oh man, having it happen during a vacation made going on vacation that much more stressful because it's like, it's already happened once. Is this going to happen to me again? But what had ended up happening was I am I am in marketing. I do work for a health and wellness company, and it was completely by chance. I was at an event with a bunch of other leaders. Yes, I'm in network marketing,
That's
whatever.
okay.
It's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's totally okay. Um, I'm not on this podcast to promote that in any way. But one of my leaders, I had talked about how I just had a cyst burst. So this was like 2 weeks after my last one had burst. And I went to the hospital. It was really traumatic. I've never in my life thrown up from being in pain until that last cyst. And that was really scary to be that in pain that you throw up. So if you're someone who's experiencing that, I feel for you because it is terrifying because that's like a whole new level. But anyways, so I was talking about this in front of this woman and she was just like, you have endometriosis? Like I had a diagnosis. I had already had the laparoscopic. So I was like, do you have it too? And she was like, yes. Oh my gosh, let me tell you what you need to do. And she was just like, make sure you're taking the greens. I work for It Works. She was like, make sure you're taking the greens. They're so great for like detoxing. And she was like, a lot of this comes from like our gut health and just like your health in general. So nutrition is key. Like you need to look at your nutrition. So I was like, okay, noted, greens. And then she was like, you also need to do a 12 wrap challenge, like for the body wraps. And so I listened to her because she was like, I swear by this. I swear I've had the same thing. I've had the surgery. I've been in the hospital. I know exactly what you're going through. She was like, I swear this is what helped me. You can try it. It's not invasive and you're not going to have to take prescription like drugs or anything like that, which I didn't want to do that. I'm very sensitive to stuff like that. Like I would leave the hospitals and they would give me a prescription for like, oh my gosh, all kinds of stuff. And I just would get sick. I would get migraines from pharmaceuticals. They gave me morphine one time. Oh my God. That was a 2-day headache, 2 days straight, awful. So I was like, okay, I can do this a more natural way. Hell yes, I will try anything. I've already had surgery and they've put like cameras in me. They've cut into my stomach and like all this stuff. Yes, I want to try it. So I did that. I was super consistent over a 90-day period of time. And I do not even have painful cramping anymore. I'm not a doctor. I don't know like the logistics of it. I just know that drinking those greens and having that detox my body, making sure that I'm getting like fruits and vegetables, it completely changed my cramping. And the wraps are also helpful for like inflammation, which like my uterus and my lower abdominal area would get so inflamed, hot to the touch, puffy, just like a sore, but on the inside of your body. So it was very helpful. And that is what worked for me. And every now and then, if I feel like, ooh, like today's cramping was a little more than, I'm used to, I'll go back to throwing a wrap on. It's very soothing. So that's just what works for me. And then I also really paid attention to nutrition and to my diet. There are certain foods that have like high estrogen levels in them. So dairy, I cannot do. I just can't. I feel awful if I have dairy. So I don't do that. I don't eat meat anymore. And I just noticed that the more leafy greens like kale and spinach, as much as I can add it into my diet, the better. And yeah, like that just really, really helped to pay attention to what I was eating, making sure I was getting enough water. And you don't even have to do like high intensity workouts. Like I love dance. So I love that form of fitness. It doesn't feel like a workout. I feel like I'm just having fun, listening to my favorite songs and just dancing it out. And walking. I love walking. It's low impact. You can do it on a treadmill. You can be outside in nature and like getting vitamin D into your system and hiking and stuff like that. Those are the workouts that work well for me. As far as, when I wasn't feeling really well, I needed something low impact, like walking or just dancing to a couple songs that, are feel good and upbeat. And you want to bring your mental health up. You want to like feel more positive. So that's why I love listening to music and just jamming out, moving my body that way. Yoga is also really great. You learn to listen to your body and your muscles and pay attention to different parts of your body. So I really like yoga as well. But yeah, like I just really have to pay attention to what I'm eating. And now that I'm in my 30s, I'm going to be 31 September 12th. And since I turned 30, I noticed a shift in my body yet again. And I can no longer have gluten. It inflames me. It inflames my joints. It is so bad on my digestive system. I never used to be sensitive to it before, but in my late 20s, now early 30s, your hormones change like the older that you get. So yeah, again, this is a hormonal issue that we have, right? Like our body is producing too much estrogen, not enough whatever else, progesterone, testosterone, all of these things. And food can really throw that off or improve it. And I've just noticed if I incorporate spinach in my smoothies or spinach with my lunches or dinners, it just helps my digestive system. I also try to snack on like carrot sticks and peanut butter, like just real whole foods. Processed sugars give me headaches. They make me feel tired and lethargic. And I just want to sit around and do nothing. And I can just like feel it in my lower abdomen. Like I can feel it in that part of my body. And yeah, I actually just recently had a flare up in May. And yeah, it takes twice as long to correct a flare up. And it's yet another part of the battle. I mean, people who have endometriosis, PCOS, some women unfortunately have both of those conditions. And that is a struggle in and of itself to not only deal with the pain of what these hormonal imbalances can do to your sex organs, your period, but also your digestive system. And I don't know if you know this, but our bodies actually have two brains. Okay. You have the brain in your head and you have the brain in your gut. There's actually more, oh, I forget the technical terms, but there's like more sensors or whatever the technical term is in your gut. So what you're doing there affects everything in your body, to your mental health, all of that. So I'm very aware of taking care of my gut health right now, because if that is thrown off, I'll feel bad and I will revert back to maybe not the best habits that lead to eating the wrong foods, that lead to me feeling awful. So it is a lot, like when you have to think of what are the best exercises, what's the best nutrition, and that is why I am so open to using like vegan natural supplements. I would rather do that than go to like pharmaceuticals, and not every case is the same. There are women who they have to have medication, and that is okay. Like you're not less of a woman or less of a person. You're not failing at this if that is what you have to do to feel your best. I just knew for me, like I already had a hormonal imbalance. I already had something wrong. I'm so sensitive to medications and stuff. I will get every side effect. That's just how my body reacts to like medications and stuff. So a long time ago, I just knew I need to correct this with food. It's what feels the best for me. I listened to my gut and my intuition to just correct it with food naturally. And yeah, so that's what I've done. It works really well for me. I'm very happy with, I take a probiotic. I drink celery juice like the week of my period. Sometimes I'll do it for like 30 days or 60 days if I feel like I need that extra help. And I just, yeah, like I found some supplements that worked really well with my body. And I think we also live in a society where if you can kind of start to feel better faster and you're happy with the ingredients, what I love about society today and consumerism today, a lot of us are looking for plant-based things like, like, what is it? Cruelty free. Yeah. Like cruelty free products, right? Like I like to use shampoo and makeup that is plant-based and cruelty free. And the same thing with other products and supplements that I'm using. I'm very aware of that. I'm aware of the environment. And I think a lot of other people are starting to jump onto that as well and be really aware of, okay, what can help me, but doesn't like affect the environment and, animals that didn't ask to be tested on and stuff like that. So this is just what works well for me.
Well, I definitely appreciate you sharing that with us, because I think that you gave um, a lot of segues on where someone could go with their journey, with endometriosis. I know for myself right now, actually going down the lane of nutrition and working on what fits. And it's interesting. I did not know that there are like two brains. So thank you for sharing that. That's pretty interesting. And it actually just makes a lot of sense because I feel like with stress and stuff, I feel like that affects obviously, the body in the gut. And I know for myself, I was diagnosed as well with endometriosis and IBS, but they say that IBS it's more so a diagnosis of not really knowing an exact, answer and just calling it IBS. So hearing you say that about the sensitivities, it's like that makes sense. This makes a lot of sense. So thank you for sharing that. Um, I wanted you to share how can people find you?
Sorry, I was muted. So I am on Facebook. It's just my name, Stephanie Tupper. Same thing for my Instagram. It's just at Stephanie Tupper. And then if you like to dance too, and you're into dance fitness, I do have a Dance Fitness with Stephanie Tupper Facebook page. So yeah, if you want to, find fun new ways to move, I do have that.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely going to check out your dance. And um, yeah, thank you so much for coming on here today. Such an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I definitely share recipes and stuff like that too for anyone who is interested in, well, oh my gosh, like I don't even know what to eat. I love to share the foods that make me feel good. So cooking is another one of the hats that I wear.
Well, I love that. I think your hats are perfect to have. And yeah, I'm absolutely going to check out your recipes and maybe we can attach that to this episode, a couple of recipes that you have. So, as you know, I love to do affirmations before we end. So, I have three affirmations, and whichever number you resonate between 1 and 3, that is your affirmation. So, I'm going to start with number 1. I am getting better and better every day in every way. For those of you that resonate with number 2, my body feels good, healthy, and strong. And then for those of you that resonate with number 3, I nourish my body in ways that support my highest good. And with that, you are loved, you are cherished, you are worthy, and I am proud of you. Until next time on the Brie Pod. Bye.